What is up, guys? Spot MMA here. UFC MACAU, Yadong versus Deiveson Figueiredo takes place in less than 24 hours. It's a pretty good card. A lot of the road to UFC fights in the prelims, so I might kind of skim through the UFC or through the prelims a little bit, but the main card is very good. Early start time because we're in China, so that's, whatever. Good morning fights. But anyway, let's get right away started with Loma Lookboom versus Jacqueline Amorim. I'm going to go with Loma Lookboom here. I think she is going to have the stand-up advantage, and I don't see Jacqueline Amorim being able to bring it to the ground. She is a grappler. She has some pretty decent grappling, but Loma Lookboom has showed an improved kind of takedown defense, and I think she can be able to keep it on the feet. She has some pretty decent Muay Thai. She's gonna piece her up on the feet a little bit to a 29-28 decision. And yeah, next fight on the card. What do we got? We got Kang Jae-ju versus Rodrigo Vera. Kang Jae-ju came through road to the UFC. A lot of split decisions on the road to the UFC, which isn't a good look from a show, promotion, whatever you want to call it. That doesn't really produce a lot of high-level MMA or UFC fighters. Having, those fucking wars on there and, scraping out split decisions. That's not a really good look. Rodrigo Vera, they also making his debut here. Also not very impressive, in the regional scene, a lot of decisions, but at least they're unanimous decisions. I think they're against better comp. So yeah, I'm going to go with Rodrigo Vera by a decision, mixing in the grappling, making it a mixed martial arts fight, being able to sting Kang Jae-ju on the feet a little bit and mixing the grappling to 29-28 decision. On to Angela Hill versus Jinan Zhang. Ant on ant violence in this one. They are both 40-year-old women. Jinan Zhang is making her debut, but the streets are saying she's actually really solid, and I can't trust Angela Hill to win a fight in the UFC anymore. So I'm going to go with Zhang pretty much just off of pure aura, to be honest, because I don't really know anything about her. I'm pretty sure she fought in one for a long time. She has a good record. I'll go decision, knocks down Angela Hill in rounds 1 and 3, wins a 30-27. On to Ray Tetsura versus Luis Guruli. This one's interesting. Ray Tetsura, of course, his last fight was against the champion Joshua Van. And Luis Guruli is shit. So you would think, Ray Tetsura is going to win this easy. Not really, because Luis Guruli is a really good counter wrestler and anti-grappler. These are the matches where he shines. So it's going to be a little closer than people think, I think. Interesting saying there. But I think it's going to be closer than people expect. I am going to go with Ray Tetsura. He's kind of gotten an aura upgrade. He bleached his hair. He's gone Super Saiyan. So I am going to pick him to beat Luis Guruli by decision. However, I am a little concerned that Guruli could keep it on the feet and kind of it's clobbering time his way to a crafty split decision win. But I will trust in the grappling of Ray Tetsura. I will trust in improvements in his game. He's been out for a while. That Vanfo was over a year ago at this point. So I'm going to trust that he's made some steps in the right direction in his takedown department and his stand-up. So we're going to trust in the improvement of a young fighter rather than Luis Guruli, who is shit. All right, on to Arkrij Lang, the Mongolian Murderer versus Cody Hannon. The Mongolian Murderer did just get a big-time win to kind of reset himself after, iffy kind of last 2 fights before that. But Cody Haddon's really good. Cody Haddon's a really good boxer. I think he's going to get a KO in this round. He's just really sick. Australian, green flag, has had the knockouts. Had a big knockout on the Contender Series. That was nasty. I don't believe he got a KO in his debut. He might have. I don't think so. Let me check that. Because I know he's had at least one fight in the UFC now. Yeah, he didn't. Oh, he actually didn't get a knockout on a Contender Series either. He got a rear naked choke. He must have knocked him down to get it. Because I remember him getting a brutal knockdown on there. But anyway, he's beaten Dan Argueta. Not a great win, but it is the same tier as the Mongolian Murder, I think. And I think he's going to kind of style on him a little bit here. Piece him up in the feet in round 1. Maybe wobble him a couple times. Maybe get a little off-balance knockdown. And in the second round, I think he's going to put him out with a left hook right in the button as the Mongolian Murder is trying to change the tide of the fight. Starts getting over-aggressive. I think Haddon's going to catch him on the counter. On to Ming Ding versus Jose Sosa. I know nothing about either of these fighters. I'm going to be 100%. I am purely picking off of aura and age here because Jose Sosa is 24. Ming Ding is 31. I know he doesn't have a great record, 35-9 for a guy who's never been to a major promotion that I know of and never been to UFC. Jose Sosa 8-1. His first loss came 4 fights ago, so he's had that kind of setback already. He's 24. It's going to be improving. We're going to go with Jose Sosa by decision here. That's pretty much it. On to another one where I don't really know anything about these guys. I think I do know Luis Felipe Diaz a little bit. I got to check something. I got to see. Do I know who this guy is? Let's see. I do know who he is. Okay. I thought so. He fought in the Contender Series last year I gotta see the card. Was this DC's boy? Did he fight DC's boy? Is that who this was? Oh. Is that Chonko? Oh, he was on the Chonko card. Okay. No, it wasn't. Oh, he was on the Mark Vogeldine versus Luna Martinetti card. Okay. Emil was on this card. Okay. So I have seen this guy fight. I don't really remember his performance in the Contender Series, to be honest. He kind of got outshined a lot on that card. That was a lot of good performances. But I am going to go with him by first round submission here against Yi Sakli. Don't know who Yi Sakli is. I'm going to be honest. I think he's a road to the UFC guy. I think he's going to get submitted in the first round. On to the main card opener. Alex Perez versus Sumadorji. This is an interesting one. Sumadorji is kind of putting together a little crafty little win streak here against not the best opponents. The best guy he's fought in there is probably Jesus Aguilar, who just got cut, unfortunately. Kevin Bojas is kind of mid. And then, of course, Mitchell Prosa was not a UFC fighter. Going to split decision with Mitchell Prosa was not a good sign. Alex Perez, though, on the other hand, he has fought like nothing but the best of the best in his last 5. Muhammad Makayev, he should have won that fight. People forget. Mateus Nicolau, pre or post Royval stealing his chin. So, take that with a grain of salt. Lost to Tetsu Rotera. He snapped his knee. Assume Abayev got him in a choke. Unfortunate. And then he just KO'd Charles Johnson, who actually does have a win over Sumadorji. I'm going to go with Alex Perez by KO. I've never been impressed by Sumadorji. Alex Perez does have some serious stud in his hands. So I'm going to pick him by second round KO. I guess if you're picking Sumadorji, you're picking him on the basis that he's going to kind of be able to outpick and 1-2 his way to a decision here. But I just think with those big looping shots that Perez throws and he lunges into him, I think he's going to catch him on the chin and put him down bad. I don't think he's going to get an out-cold KO, but I think he's going to knock him down bad and get a pitter-pat TKO in the second round after probably winning the first round in front of his home people. On to Jake Matthews versus Carlston Harrison. Not Harrison, Carlston Harris. I'm going to go Jake Matthews. I think he's just a complete better fighter. I think Carlston Harris is completely washed. He just lost to... Oh, he lost to Ponzinibbio. I thought he lost to Michael Chiesa. I'm mistaken. I don't know who I'm thinking of. I think he was scheduled to fight Michael Chiesa, and then he pulled out. But either way, getting TKO'd by Ponzinibbio at this point, embarrassing. Chaos put him out really bad. So he's coming off of 2 really bad KO losses, and Jake Matthews does have some good pop in his hands. So I'm going to take Jake Matthews pretty comfortably here. Jake Matthews is a really good fighter. He has really good boxing. He's had close fights with guys like Michael Morales, who are like, top of the pinnacle of the sport right now. Neil Magny caught him in a Darce choke. That is embarrassing. I will say that is embarrassing, but that's going to give him more hunger. He's going to come back hungrier. And I think he's going to get, not a knockout, I think he's going to knock down Carlton Harris, or maybe like an off-balance knockdown, and then get a submission. Jake Matthews is kind of a really big submission guy. He doesn't really get a lot of KOs unless you're Andre Philly, who has no chin. So I'm going to take and get a rear naked choke here in round 1. Just go out there and blitz him. Easy pickings. On to Kai Asakura versus Cameron Smotherman. This is the layup for Asakura. You can say Tim Elliott was the layup, but, Tim Elliott's still a top 10 fighter. Cameron Smotherman is on a 2-fight losing streak to not good fighters. Siri CD, even though I like him a lot, he's one of my favorite prospects right now. He's so fun. He's not going to be like a top 10 guy, a top 5 guy. Ricky Simone has been shown that he's not a top 15 guy. And these are the guys that are, hard stopping Cameron Smotherman. Like Tim Elliott, it's not a terrible loss, gassing out and getting kind of, guillotined by, and, out goofy maxed by Tim Elliott. That's not terrible. Cameron Smotherman is not good. He's not good. He's a ploddy plodster at bantamweight, which you can't be. Asakura does have 6 striking. I think, not having to cut the weight could be a little crafty advantage for him. And he's fought at bantamweight before. It's not like he's making his debut. He actually fought at bantamweight, I do believe like his last fights at Ryzen were at bantamweight, and then he cut back down to 225. So that could be a factor in this, or in his losses. Loss, the Elliott one, the Pantoja loss. There's nothing bad in that. But I do think that Asakura is going to get the first round KO in this one. He better, because this is his last shot at it. If he doesn't get this one, he's probably going to get cut, because he's probably making a shit ton of money. Yeah. But I think he's going to get the first round KO. Alrighty. On to Sergey Pavlovich versus Talis Teixeira. Talis Teixeira is shit. He is fucking terrible. He nearly got KO'd by Tuivasa. That is pathetic. Sergey Pavlovich by first round KO. Lock it in. A lot of these fights in the main card, there's not much to talk about. Ming Yang Zhang versus Alonzo Manyfield. Alonzo Manyfield is going to rush him like a fucking idiot at some point and get KO'd in the first round. There's not much to talk about. All right, here we go. Main event time. Sung Yadong versus Deiveson Figueiredo. This is a good fight. I just worry that I don't really know where Deiveson Figueiredo could win this fight. On the feet, Sung Yadong is probably more powerful at this point. He's faster. He has better footwork. On the ground, I think Sung Yadong's stronger. I don't think he's going to be able to, get him into those positions, even though Deiveson Figueiredo is probably better on the ground. I don't see him being strong enough to get him there. So I think he's going to be stuck on the feet with Sung Yadong here, and I think Sung Yadong's going to have a boxing masterclass in this one. I really do. For as long as this one goes. I do think Sung Yadong's going to KO him in round 4 with an uppercut. As Deiveson Figueiredo tries to reset off a combination, he ducks down. I think Sung Yadong's going to time him with an uppercut and kind of fold him over his knees, and put him out bad. I think he's going to get knocked out cold. And this might be it for Deiveson Figueiredo. If he does decide to fight after this, I do think he can still win fights. I don't think he's completely washed, as the narrative saying this fight week. People are kind of saying, oh, he's completely washed. I don't think he's completely washed. I just think he's fighting guys who are the best in the world, and he is old. He's a little washed, but he's not completely washed. He's he'll never win a fight again. That's just not true. He's just fighting guys who are in the top 5 of the most killed division in the sport. That's literally it. These guys are just fucking animals. So, unfortunate for Deiveson Figueiredo. There's not much to talk about on this main card at all. This fight is going to be a sick fight. Both guys possess killer knockout power. I'm never concerned about Sung Yadong's chin. I'm a little concerned about Deiveson Figueiredo's chin because he's 40. We have to start. Eventually, he's going to get chinned. I think it's going to be now. I think it's going to be from Sung Yadong having a flawless, masterclass performance where I think this is going to be the best performance of his career. Like, this is going to be what the Henry Cejudo performance was looking like it was about to be, I think. So, yeah. That's it. Short breakdown. Not much to talk about in this card. It's a good card, but a lot of them are one-sided fights. It's kind of like the MVP card, where it's like, how a lot of these fights in the main card are going. Prelims are kind of mid. It's a good card, though. All right. Lock in my predictions. See ya. Please like and subscribe. Helps a lot. All right. Spot on the mail. Peace, guys.